Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited to see you all here today to talk about garden grants. My name is Rachel Hutchison. I'm a senior associate at NHSA. I work primarily for the Academy as an instructional designer and a course manager, but I also have the great pleasure of getting to help facilitate this lovely grant, which is brought to you by the Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation and also by Kids Gardening. Um, and we have another round of grants. This is our sixth year of providing these to Head Start and Early Head Start. And we have learned a lot over the years, and so have you, about gardening, but also about grant applications. So today, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough of what we need from you in order to get a really good idea of what you're hoping to do with gardens at your program and how these funds could help you do that. So to do that today, I'm going to hand the reins over to our partner, Sarah Pounders from Kids Gardening. She is a kids gardening extraordinaire. That's not her official title, but that's what I call her. And she can answer any questions you have about gardening with your Head Start cuties. And then I'm here to answer any technical questions you might have about the application. If we can't answer them today, you can always send us an email at gardens@nhsa.org and I can fill them for you at any time between now and when this garden grant is due, which is December 18th. So way to go, early birds. Glad you're here. And you can also feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and we'll get to as many of them as we can right here today. Okay, Sarah, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Thank you guys for joining us today as we walk through. We're going to kind of walk through a little bit of what is involved with the grant process, but I'm going to kick it off just to starters. Just welcome again. We've got the website link in here. This is a collaboration of NHSA, the Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation, and our organization, Kids Gardening. And the idea is to get more gardens into Head Starts across the country. And we're doing that through the garden grants. We are also offering educational programming and training opportunities. And there was a lovely video that was put together by NHSA and Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation. We're just going to take a minute so that everybody can see. It's kind of very inspiring about what the goals are.
Every child deserves to grow up healthy and strong, to feel empowered to dream big. But not every child is able to feel secure in this world. What if we gave children a safe space where they could let their curiosity grow? What if we could empower them to know where their food comes from, to get outside and get their hands dirty, to plant a seed and watch it grow, and to learn that a little bit of teamwork can really make something come to life? Gardens are improving young lives all across America by giving children the knowledge to grow something greater. The Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation's partnership with the National Head Start Association will give children the opportunity, maybe even for the first time, to pluck tomatoes and green beans straight from the vine and taste for themselves that learning doesn't just happen in the classroom. Gardens can give families facing food insecurity the right tools and the confidence to make things blossom. When we partner together, we can build a new future for children and their communities. One filled with healthy bodies and minds, where dreams are nurtured just like a garden. And so our work begins. Because wherever gardens grow, hope grows too.
We just always like to share out that video because that's the ultimate goal, is just to get kids into the garden, to getting them in their hands in the soil and watching those plants grow. And thanks to Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation for really believing that kids are the way to start young and really get those benefits going early. And NHSA, I know that many of y'all are members, so you probably know a lot of background. I know, Rachel, if you wanted to share any particular information, or are you good?
Well, we are always appreciative of our member programs, and in order to apply for the grant, you do need to be a member of NHSA. So I would just advise that everyone double check your membership status. Sometimes that lapses and you just didn't notice. So make sure that's in place, and then you're all good to go to apply for this grant.
And just a little bit of information about Kids Gardening. We're a national nonprofit. We're based out of Vermont, but we have staff all over the country. And the goal of our organization is to find opportunities to inspire educators and community members and caregivers so that every child has a chance to play, grow, and learn through the garden. And today, we're going to kind of just jump into a quick poll just to see who's on the webinar today. If you can let us know if you're an educator, if you're a parent, if you're an administrator, curriculum specialist. Just kind of get an idea for who's here today. Right, looks like we've got everyone weighed in today. Looks like we've got a lot of administrators on the call with us, ready to apply. Right. Trying to remember how to close the poll. Sorry about that. So as we've talked about with the grants, the idea of the grants is that we know that in order to get gardens growing, a lot of times you need a little help to get that started. And so the idea behind these grants is really to provide that foundation for you to begin a garden at your location or a green space, and to really also, it is available for folks who are going to improve on an existing garden. So if you've started a little bit, you can also add to it. The grants this year in 2024 are going to vary between $2,500 and $5,000, with a potential, with at least a minimum of $50,000 in grant funding. And like I said, it is available for both new and existing programs. Now, if you are an existing program, definitely as you're filling out your application, you're going to want to explain how you're improving, how this will improve your access, improve the impact you're having. And for new programs, I want to talk about, you'll obviously be talking about how you're going to get that garden started. And it can be both for gardens and for outdoor green space projects. And as Rachel mentioned, it's open to all NHSA members. It is an online application. We're going to go through today some of the questions it's going to ask. And the application deadline is December 18th. And that seems like a long way away, but you know how busy things will ramp up very shortly. So definitely put that on your calendar with a little reminder. And again, this is the website where you'll find that information. So some facts about the grant that people frequently have questions about. One is that you can only receive a grant once. So if you have already received this grant, you are not eligible to apply again. There are lots of other grant opportunities out there, but we're trying to reach as many people as possible. So you can only win at one time. In order to apply, you must have at least be at a permission to use the space or the property that you're going to implement this green space or garden for at least 2 years in the future. So we want to make sure it's something that you will be able to be using for at least 2 years. And also you must qualify as a tax exempt organization, which can include both the 501c3s, or if you're a school district, university, or some other government entity. And you can also work through a fiscal sponsor if you need to. So what are the grants really looking for? So as the evaluators are reading everything, what kind of tips can we provide? What are they looking for as far as the programs that you're going to implement? So first of all, they're going to be looking at the influence you're going to have on their kids and the families and community, how you've designed it so that you're impacting each of those folks. They're going to be looking at your commitment to gardening, to incorporate it into your programming so that it's something that really is going to have an impact on your educational programming and all of the other objectives and goals that you're doing in your organization. Again, another great thing is to see that commitment to sustain the program over time so that we know that it's not just like a one-time project, but really something you're committing to. And there will be an evaluation of your plans to engage your students, your families, and the community partners and volunteers. Those are kind of some of the larger considerations that would be made as the applications are being read. So just out of curiosity, we wanted to see how many webinar attendees are planning to apply for the grant going into this. I know there may be a mix of folks who are just kind of testing the waters, but who already knows that they definitely want to apply for this year? And it looks like mostly are yes right now. Some folks are looking maybe in the future. Good to plan ahead, and hopefully, and those undecided, hopefully we can answer some of your questions so that you know whether or not this is the right fit for you. So we wanted to stop so we just kind of laid down the basics of the way that it works and some of the FAQs. We wanted to stop for just a second to see if anyone has any questions already. Do we have any questions that have popped up in the chat, Rachel?
Not yet, but I will say that if anybody feels more comfortable raising your hand, we can bring you off mute if you'd rather ask a question. So if at any point you do come up with a question about the application, either way is fine. We're happy to answer those here. Or remember, you can send them to me at gardens@nhsa.org at any time. I will note that we have kind of a cool new feature this year. When you start on your application, there is an option to save it and go back. You weren't able to do that before. So I would always caution people to like do your draft outside of the application and then bring it in, which is still always a good idea, but it's a little less crushing if you got halfway through and then then it's gone. That shouldn't be a problem this year.
Excellent. That is a great feature to add. Thank you for letting us know about that. All right, if we don't have any questions, then what I'm going to go through right now is just kind of some support that we've tried to pull together some resources for you. And I'm sure we can share out a lot of these are links to different resources that may help you as you are considering what kind of program you want to put together and apply for, considering how to build your program, and how to also fill out the different things for the application. So I'm going to kind of run through a little bit of this. First off, you're going to start off with in the application is your basic information and contact information. So we are not going to go through that, but it's going to ask you for a project summary. And so the one of the things that I wanted to make sure to point out is to really think big in terms of flexible spaces. Think about what your program has available and what kind of space, resources, time in the kids that you have that are gardening, and then because there's no one size fits all gardening. So in this link here is to a document that we have called Seeds of Success, and it's a toolkit that really walks you through all of the steps to building your garden program. So if you're just getting started, this might be something that can really help you get your planning started. Think about all of the different considerations you're going to need to make. We always recommend that people start small and think and dream big. And so as the program goes, you also can grow. So because experience builds a lot of confidence as you go. Then you're going to be looking at the objectives and goals of your program. And another thing that we always tell people is that you want to connect your existing teaching and organization goals and objectives with your garden. Your garden shouldn't be just another thing to add to the day. It needs to be integrated fully into your organization and into your curriculum so that it is a tool for you to use in multiple different ways through either for teaching or for family outreach or for social and emotional learning. All these different things are available. And this is a great publication that I wanted to point out to everyone that was done with NHSA and the National Farm to School Network that actually shows some different ways to align gardening to the Head Start program performance standards and the early learning outcomes framework, so that it really gives you an idea of how you might integrate it. If you're kind of just getting started and you're looking for ideas of how the two things might match together, this is a great one for you to check out. So what can your garden look like? So it can look like many different things. And maybe you close your eyes in your head, you might have this idea of this huge space, lots of land and rows of garden vegetables. But really your garden you can do something small and simple with container gardens to start out with. It can be very flexible, mobile. You can if you have a little bit more space available, you can do raised bed gardens. And that can be great if you are on concrete or you don't have any soil space available. That gives you the ability to bring in enough soil so that you can basically have beds anywhere at any time. You can also have in-ground gardens if you do have that space, just depends on what kind of site you have. And if you need something that's even more flexible, or maybe you live in one of those places where it's very cold year round, an indoor garden can even be a possibility for you. If you're limited outdoors, either because of limited space or because of the weather. Another way that you can incorporate gardening activities is just to integrate plant and natural materials into a green space or your play space that you have available. Maybe it's not something that you would call a true garden, but it's something that really enables you to have a true garden program, because there's really a difference between having a garden and having a gardening program, but both of them can provide a lot of benefits. So I just threw in some pictures here, some of these different options, so you can kind of get an idea for it, such as here's some raised beds. They are usually made from some kind of rot-resistant wood or concrete blocks, all sorts of different things you can make them from. But basically, they give you that benefit of having height. And like I said, you can put right over concrete, so you have plenty of space for all those roots. In-ground gardens. This is a sunflower house in the making, on its way. It's just any place that you've cleared some grassland. It can be a lot of seasonal beds. You can even put in perennials so they come back year after year. And then indoor gardens, and that can be something as simple as window sills. And these right here are some grow lights. There's a lot of different smaller units available, hydroponic units. We've had some of the winners in the past that have used hydroponic gardening with great success. And this is something so the kids can see it all the time, every day. It really can change your indoor environment too. And here's an example of a green space in a natural playscape where they've incorporated natural materials, and they can't really see it much in this picture, but they've got a lot of plants that have been put along the edges that the kids can interact with. So activities for them that allow them to do gardening. We have a website that we've put together about connecting the garden with your educational objectives, that provides a kind of a pocket of different resources that are available. That's lesson plans, some curricula, some activities, seasonal activities. If you go to this website, you can kind of look through those and get some ideas of different things that you might want to implement in your gardening program. Another thing that the application is going to ask you is to describe some of the gardening practices that you want to use. We definitely want to encourage the use of using your resources as responsibly as possible, and that is including water, using your water wisely, making sure that you are taking care of your soil, and so we have put together here a list of some of our basic information. If you're new to gardening, these might help you kind of get a start. We have a Kids Gardening Basics. Those are kind of how-tos that we've specifically written for educators. So thinking about it from a schoolyard view. We have an article on wise watering. It gives some tips on things such as what kind of irrigation to use, using mulch to make sure that you're using as little water as possible, choosing the right plants for your space. And then we have another lesson that is specifically on conserving water. So this is another set of resources that may help you as you're answering some of those questions related to your earth-friendly gardening practices on the application. Another thing that the application will ask you is to describe the plants that you hope to use. And there are one of the things when you're picking plants for young children is that young children love to interact with the plants, right? We want everything to be safe because we know that so many things that touching the plants, things may end up in their mouths that may be not considered edible. So you want to make sure that all of your plants, avoid any kind of poisonous or dangerous plants in your space. And so that's why we've put together a list here. It's at this website of plants that have worked really well for young children in the garden, making sure that they're safe to explore and so check out that list for some ideas. Another thing, as you're looking at your plant selection and trying to decide how to plan and answer that question potentially, is you might want to plan around garden themes. So you might be looking at edible plants, if that is like kind of a bigger theme, and that would help inform what kind of plant selection you'd like to try. Sensory plants, things that engage the senses, herbs, or things that have soft texture, or smooth texture, just all sorts of things that they can touch and smell, or even plants that produce sound when they blow in the wind. You might want to have just an educational garden that really connects to some that your learning objectives. You might be looking to have a therapeutic garden that has more it has other aspects that are related to addressing some of the non-academic goals of your organization. And again, indoor plants, that's another option for you. And pollinator plants are another one that's really popular, and that's to kind of attract and teach kids about pollinators, native plants in your area. And that can be a real fun option. But there's tons and tons of lots of other garden theme ideas, but just throwing those out there that as you're selecting plants, you might want to think about that. Another question that you're going to find come up on the application is about how you plan to sustain your garden over time. And there's lots of things, there's lots of pieces to consider when you're looking at that. Because really, when it comes to sustaining the garden, the kind of the phrase "use it or lose it" fits right in there. Because the real goal is to have a garden that's sustainable over time is one that you use regularly, that fits right in with what you're already doing, which fits the resources that you have available, the people power, that really fits the goals you're trying to reach with your kids. And so that's really the key. So making sure you have a connection to your curriculum and to your school culture, that you make it part of the tradition. And so some of these are the things that you might want to think about as you're planning and answering these questions. Think about volunteers and family engagement, because the more the merrier when it comes to the garden. This is not a one-person job. The more people you can involve, even from this beginning stage, as you start planning, even before you have any, don't wait till you have the garden growing and then go looking for your supporters. You want to get started and get them excited about it from the beginning. You also are going to be looking at your community involvement. And there's lots of different places that you can look, from green industry to volunteer groups that are going to high school groups that would be excited to help you with your space. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all sorts of groups that would be. You also start thinking about your continued funding too. So think about how you're going to keep growing the garden. The nice thing about the garden is this one big investment of grant can really give you the foundation. And then years after that, it doesn't cost as much every year to just maintain it and keep it going. But in your sustaining the garden question, you'll want to consider and share with folks what you plan to continue to do. And then finally, you'll also want to address maintenance of the garden and what you plan to do. If you have a big summer break, what do you plan to do with that space? Tell us in the application what you plan to do during school breaks or summer breaks. And I just noticed that I have break spelled B-R-A-K-E-S. So sorry about that. So make sure that you take time to also think about that ahead of time you're planning, and also put that into your application. So these are some of the things. So we have an additional resource that you can check out. We have a number of archives of the webinar series. We have a Gardening with Kids basic course that's through the Academy, and of course our website, kidsgardening.org. And finally, just wanted to let everyone know about another exciting thing that Rachel has been working on with one of my coworkers, Noelle, and that we have seasonal garden story times for you and your classes to participate in and watch. And we just had one in the fall, and I know that the recording's available if you weren't able to see it live. And I know that will be shared out later on, I believe, this week. So you can catch that. And it was a wonderful one about pumpkins and pie. So I'll stop here to see if anyone came up with any questions. Did we have any questions about?
We do have a few, and I answered them in the chat, but for anyone who may be watching this as a recording, let's go ahead and go through those live. There's a question about whether the intended space can be in collaboration with someone else.
Yes, I believe it can. Correct, Rachel? So yes, you can definitely partner with a space. I believe now the Head Start needs to be the main lead on the application, but you can definitely partnering with another space. If you do not have space on your property, there may be a community garden that perhaps is in walking distance to you. A number of libraries are starting to have gardening space. Another great community, a community center may have some gardening. Church collaboration. So there's lots of different organizations that if you do not have a space available, you can work with them. Now, the Head Start would, of course, be the lead on the application.
And it's helpful if you are going to tell us that you're working with someone else, or if you're going to be on another entity's space, if you could include a letter of support, or, confirming that they are in fact aware of this and planning to partner with you. That's always nice for us to know. The other question, Sarah, was, do you have to have a green space, or can this be used for like family type home gardens? Which I think your presentation has pretty well demonstrated. Like, everything is on the table here. We're not saying that you have to have a big, beautiful acre to build a garden on, right? You can put some seeds in a plant. And if you're going to work that into your curriculum and work with kids with it, then we want to know and we want to help support that with you. Wherever you can start, we want to meet you there. So Sarah has all these resources, are a great place to start brainstorming about what will work for you and your program with the resources you have available, and how can we help get you started with this grant, or maybe take you to the next level if you've already got a program in place. We're very flexible. And I also wanted to say on that note that while we're going to ask you for a lot of detail in this application, we've been running this grant for 5 years, which means that we were running it over COVID. And clearly, people sent in applications that they were not able to then execute the way they had originally planned. So we're very flexible. We just ask that you communicate with us. If and when things change, let us know so that we are aware of what that change is going to be. And then we'll just ask for you to reflect that in your final impact report. So there is one more question here. Is the grant for Head Start only? Can daycares apply? And that is going to be the same answer as before. If you have a relationship with a Head Start program as a daycare facility or an extended care facility, as long as the Head Start program is the lead on the grant, then you can be involved. But the grants themselves are awarded to Head Start and Early Head Start programs that are members of NHSA. I
Well, and I'll
think
just
that's
add
our
on
list
that
of
question
questions.
about the family one that came through. We had a grant winner in the past that had container gardens in 5-gallon buckets. So they're very mobile. So the kids could use them during the school year, and then available to take home during breaks and over the summer. And then the buckets can come back and be reused again. So there's lots of flexibility in what you can work with on the garden. Lots of different options.
There is one more question, Sarah, about hydroponic gardens, if you want to say another word or two about how that works.
Sure, sure. So hydroponic gardens are gardens that instead of using traditional soil, they use water. And there are a lot of, you can use both prefabricated units, or you can also make your own. But there's tons of prefabricated units available now. And we have had a previous winner in one of our webinars. You can kind of see theirs as an example. But they got some prefabricated hydroponic units, and they had one in each classroom, I believe. They also can be easy to rotate, there's some benefits to hydroponics because they grow really quickly, and the kids, it's like they grow super fast because you're giving them all their needs and all the light. Usually you do need to have grow lights to have enough sunlight for them, especially if they're indoors. But like I said, a lot of these prefabricated units do come with light systems already included too. So I'm not sure if I totally answered the question about hydroponics, except that it's just basically, instead of using soil, they're getting all their nutrients and water through different watering systems. So we've got a lot of great on our website. We have a lot of great hydroponic resources, or for sure send us an email if there's something specific question you have, and we'll get that information to you.
Okay, I think that's great, Sarah. That we've really got people's wheels turning now about all the different options for gardens, and really hope that we will see applications from all of you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at gardens@nhsa.org. The link to the application is in the chat, and it will also we'll sending it to you in a follow-up email with links to these resources that Sarah has been turning us all onto. So huge thank you to Sarah for sharing all of her incredible knowledge about gardening with kids, and happy gardening, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.